Hey guys, so for today's tutorial I'm going to teach you how to make a face mask. These are kind of, everyone's trying to make them right now for this pandemic, so I'm just going to show you a quick tutorial on how I do mine. I do filter mine in the inside, so I'm going to show you how to do that, what sizes to do it, and everything. So for this tutorial you're going to need a thing of fabric. You're going to need a cutter so that way you can cut your fabric. I use an interfacing. So for mine, I use the fusible mid-weight interfacing. I also have used featherweight too. It does work just fine. I got this at my local Walmart. I have not been able to find elastic, so what I've been using is extra thick hair ties. So the extra thick hair ties versus normal ones, as you can see, are a lot bigger than normal size, so they're perfect for putting them in and using them as the ear care things. So the interfacing does have two sides. So the one side is soft where the other side is kind of rough. When you cut it, you want to make sure that you're cutting on the rough side, because if you cut on the soft side, then things kind of start to stick to it and it kind of peels it off a little bit, and it's better to not. So for your fabric, I cut this in an 8" by 8" square, and this is my base for the front. It's going to be the design side, and then for your interfacing you want it to be a little bit shorter. So what I did here was I cut 8 by 7.5. So when you go to put this together, you want to make sure that you have your pattern side up, because this is what you want to show. And for your interfacing, you want the smooth side to go down. And when you place it down, you're going to place it so that way the 8 inches are touching the sides and the 7.5 is going across the top. So when you put it down, you see here that you have a little bit of room here, a little bit of room here. That's what you want. So then you just want to butt it up against the top. And then you are going to need some pins. So then you just pin it to the top. I normally leave a little bit of room so when I go to sew it, I don't run into my needles, because sometimes that messes up my machine. Here I'm using 4. Sometimes I use 3, depends on the kind of fabric that you're using and what how close you want to do it. So for this, I'm only going to worry about sewing this top here. You do need a sewing machine unless you want to do it by hand. Doing it by hand is a lot harder. Having a machine makes it easier and makes it so that way everything stays together nicely. So once you have it pinned here, you're just going to go ahead and sew along the top here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So I went ahead and sewed it. At the beginning here, you stitch forward and then you try to stitch back in the same angle. And as you can see, it's not a total straight line here. It doesn't really matter because this is on the inside and we will iron it later. So that way we can smooth it out. You do want to take out your pins, and then you want to cut off this extra string here. Cutting off the sides. Okay, so now we have the top part done. So you see at the bottom we have this extra fabric here. What we're going to do is we're going to bring this top down so that way the interfacing hits the edge of this. And this is going to create basically our mask frame. So once you pull it to the ends, again you're going to pin it so that way it doesn't move when you go sewing it. And this just closes it off for you. Some people don't like doing this step because they want to be able to put filters into it. That's fine. If you're one of those people, you can just skip this step. But if you do skip this step, instead, because you are going to have that extra fabric, another way to do it is to just take that extra fabric and you want to flip it to the back and you want to fold up the bottom for that extra little bit, and you'll sew along there, so that way it still is kind of closed off and it doesn't look like it has a longer piece in the front than the back. So here we have our pins all in, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to sew it again. So again, here I went ahead and sewed it. You see the ends. All we do is we just cut those off. Don't judge me on my sewing skills here. I am still kind of a beginner at it, but beginner or not, if it works, it works. So this is working, and I've had a lot of people come back for a request, so they still hold up regardless. Even though it's not a straight line, still doesn't matter. If you can do straight lines, even better. You do want to try to get it as close to the edge as you can, so that way you have more mass to work with. It just makes your life easier. So go ahead and take out those pins. And now, as you can see, you have both the top and the bottom sewn together. So what we're going to do here is we're going to flip it. And once you flip it, you can see here that you have your square. The back looks like a nice square too. Doing what we did, it gives you this nice seam here, so that way it looks more convincing and has a better feel to you. So it also covers all of your imperfections. If you have an iron, it is recommended that you iron this, so that way you can make sure your things are completely solid here and solid here. So when you go to iron, you just want to line up. You just want to line it up there. You want to line it up here. And then you'll just iron that down and make it all better. So right now my iron, I don't have a place to actually plug it in, so I'm just going to demonstrate to you with my non-on hot iron what you are going to do when you iron it. When you iron it, you want to start in the middle here and you bring it out, and then you put it back in the middle and bring it out for your top, and then you want to do the same here at the bottom. And that just takes away all of your creases, and it makes it so that way when you do it, it's a smooth run. So that way you don't end up with kind of like seams and stuff in it. You don't really want those. So this just provides you just that seamless flow to just go from the middle to the sides, from the middle to the sides. And that will also adhere your interfacing kind of to stick to your fabric more, so that way it doesn't move around as much. So I did that. If you don't have a hot iron, that's fine too. If you have anything heavy that you can just kind of just go like this and crease the ends with, like you can see, even though my hot iron's not on, just pushing down on my fabric is making a crease on it. So that's all you really need, is to just crease it really nice. Hot irons do work the best though, but if you don't have it, you work with what you got. So I'm going to go do that real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, so I went and I did it. So once you do it, you do want to pick it up and you kind of want to air it out a little bit because it will be a little bit damp. So you just want to air it out, make sure it's dry. And so that should be okay. So we have it now. It's all nice and it's all put together. You can see that the fabric's on the back. I do have a little bit of crinkles here just because I hurried up and I did it real quick. But if you have your hot iron already hot, then you should be fine. This is just because I quickly did it. So now what we do is we're going to flip it this way. And you want to make sure that your design is how you want your mask. So I want the stitches, this will be my top. I want my stitches to come down like this. So I'm going to take my top end and flip it back over. And I'm going to fold it up about 1 inch or 1/2 inch. And this is where we're going to make our pleats. So I'm going to fold it, and then I'm going to take a pin, and I'm going to pin it down here at the bottom on both sides. So pin it right here, and then I'm going to pin it over here on this side. And then once you have it, you do have this little bit to pull up. That's what you need. You're going to flip it over and fold it down. So you want to fold it right where you pinned it, so that way you still have this top part here. So if you look at how this is, we just folded it. Here's my pin. When you look at how it's folded here on the back, you can see that the pleat is only folded to right where my pin is, and this part is just the fabric. You want to make sure that you have that, because that's going to be the top of your mask. So then you just pin it through, and then you pin it through. And you want to make sure that when you pin it through to the back and come back. You want to make sure that when you're pinning it that second time that you are getting this pleat, because that's what makes your pleat. So you can see here we have a nice pleat. So to do our second pleat, we flip it back over, we take our pleat, and we fold it again. So here we're doing it again the 1 inch, and you pin it, both sides. Make sure that they're kind of lined up because you want it to look nice. Okay. And then you just flip it back, flip out your bottom, and fold it over. So now with this pleat, you want to make sure that it goes back up to the first. So as you can see here, it looks like that on the back. Okay, so now we have it all nice, we have it all even. We're going to take our pins, we're going to push it through both. So that way it looks like that. Again, you're going to do it on this side. And again, you want to make sure that you're going through both. So when you push the pin through, going through the back, and coming up. Now here I am trying to see that I'm keeping the pins a little bit farther away from the sides. It's because we are going to sew the sides first, so that way our backing definitely stays on our mask. And then for our last pleat, again, we're just going to go and you fold it up. Again, another inch. Here you want to make sure that you do have enough left to make the bottom. So here we're only going to go a little bit under the inch, so that way we know we definitely have enough at the bottom to make the pleat and also have a little bit extra to wrap around your face. So again, here we make the pin and we make the second pin. Okay, and then again we're going to take out this bottom and we're going to push it down, and now you see you do have extra fabric, so it's perfect. So then again we're going to pin this pleat. That one's good. Make sure they're lined up. I'm going to take this out, I'm going to pin it, and pin there. And so now you have your pleats done. So this is what your front will look like. This is what your back looks like. Pleat, pleat, pleat. You see how these have little openings? Great. And then you want to make sure you have that extra at the bottom. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to sew right down here on the side, so that way we can take out our pins and complete our mask. So then we're going to sew down here. So all you do, put it in your sewing machine. Okay, so we sewed our side. Quick note that make sure your bobber is always full because I did not and I ran out halfway through this, so I had to undo it and redo it. So now that I do have this side down, we do need to cut off our extra thread. So go ahead and you do that. Again, don't knock me on my sewing skills. I am still kind of a beginner. I'm basically using what I learned back in elementary school to do these. But it works. So now we have our one side done. We're going to flip it around and we're going to go ahead and we're going to do this side. So you just go ahead, put this side in and sew. Okay, now we have our second side done and you just want to snip off your loose ends here. Again, you do want to try to keep it as close to the ends as you can. Again, don't knock me on my sewing skills. I apologize. So now we have both of our sides done. And you just take out your needles. And now your mask will stay together. So our next step here is once you have it done to do our earpieces. So you need two. So all we're doing is we're going to lay it on the one side and we're going to fold over our material. So that way it covers it. When you push down, you should be able to feel that's where it is. And if you keep it close enough to the edge, you can see it lines up with that. I give it just a little bit more room and push it over as close as I can. And when I put my needle in, I put it in as close to this as possible. And so when you do that, it will leave you a nice thing like that. Or another way that you can do it if you don't quite trust that your machine can't do it is that when you do it, you put it as far over this way as you possibly can. Either way works just fine. When you do that, I sometimes do it this way because I can put my machine in between the both of them and it will stay. So there's the two ways to do it. I'm going to go back and redo it my first way because this is the way that I prefer. So just keep it as close to that as you can, or as far away, whichever one you prefer, whichever one you think your machine can handle. And I normally use 3. So I put one up top, one here in the middle, and then one down here at the end. And now you have your sides. And then I just go ahead while I'm in this mood and do the other side. So we do it here. Then in the middle. And then up here at the top. Okay. So now you have both of your sides. And you want to flip it over this way. So that way when you sew, well, at least my sewing machine, my bottom end always ends up looking not as nice as my front end. So when I sew this way, so that way my nice seams are what you see here in the front. So when you do, you just go ahead, put this in your sewing machine, and sew. So I did my one side. As you can see, it's not very pretty because, again, I still am just a beginner sewer, but if you can do a straight line here, try to do a straight line. It makes your life easier. I did go ahead already and I I cut off my ends. But so once you're done that, you just go ahead and you pull out your needles. And you have that your one side is done. And then once your one side's done, you can see here that you can pull on it. It's not coming out. That's how you know that your threading is good. So then all you have to do is do your second side. So you just go on, put it in here, and sew. So here I went ahead, sewed my other side, cut off your ends. Again, sorry for my sewing skills. I am just a beginner. If anyone has any tips they want to leave in the comments, more than happy to hear them, more than happy to read them, more than happy to learn from it. And there you go. Once you clip them, you just take out your pins and you're done. Now you have a mask. And you can pull on it. You can see that it's not going anywhere. You see here that the pleats, when you wear it, it will go out like that. It looks nice. They fit comfortably. You have your filter on the inside, or your lining. Again, these aren't medical grade masks. These are just fabric masks. But right now with the shortage, it's fine and dandy for everyone to make. So these help you to be able to not have to worry about cutting on. The elastic's already in there. It's perfect size to fit around someone's face. And the pleats help them be able to get bigger, smaller, whatever. Any fabric works. This fabric here is cotton Lyrica. I've been using cotton Lyrica and cotton for when I've been doing this. This actually right here is cotton spandex. But I've been using cotton spandex, cotton Lyrica, whatever you want. This is cotton spandex. This is cotton Lyrica. They're kind of the same. As you can see, they both have that little bit of stretch to it. So either way, it doesn't matter because once you put the lining on, it doesn't really stretch that much anyway. But yeah, so this is how you make a fabric mask. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching my tutorial, and I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching.